On October 1st, 1960, Nigeria erupted into celebration to mark its independence from the clutches of Britain. In 64 years, the country has lived a lifetime surviving civil war, coups, and dictatorship to become a thriving democratic country with one of Africa's largest economies, if you may actually described. Tonight on Big Talk, we'll be looking back at Nigeria's 64 years and looking forward to the future and how the country has fared after 64 years. Tonight, my guest is a lawyer, a politician, and a columnist who, of course, will be giving us an insight on the journey of Nigeria and the prospect for the future. Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo, thanks so much for joining us on the program tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes.
Happy Independence.
Happy Independence Day. A whole lot of memories where we can begin to track to 1960, how we got the independence, our story before then and all of that. But just as we can ask, how far have we gone? What is your assessment? What is your appraisal of 64 years of nationhood?
Oh, well, thank you, viewers, for joining us. Let me give you just a brief statistics. In 1960, we are about 46 million persons. In 2024, we are about 200 million persons. In 1960, there was no known statistics about the poverty rate. You know why? Because most people were not poor. Every family was self-sufficient in everything. In 2024, you have about 150 million persons wallowing in poverty out of 200 million. In 1960, the lending rate was about 7%. In 2024, it's now about 35%. In 1960, naira to a dollar was 70 kobo per dollar. In 2024, it's about 1,700 naira per dollar. In 1960, the price per liter of fuel was less than 1 kobo. In 2024, it is more than 1,000 naira. What it means is that as a nation, we have failed thousands of times, thousands of percentage of the time we have failed. Our leaders are thousands of failure, not hundreds. Because what was 1 kobo then is now more than 1,000 naira now. And the salary, as in the wages of workers, did not increase in any way astronomically as their hardship. So what we are celebrating in 64 years of independence is hunger and hardship, is bad governance, is incompetence and corruption. It is a government exemplified with, it is my turn to punish Nigerians. That is what we are celebrating. The only achievement of this present government is blaming the former government for every woe that has happened for Nigeria. Are
you doubting that when they tells us they inherited a bad economy, that probably we're trying to fix the situation? That's the argument of this government. In the president broadcast today, he highlighted some of those things, that he understands that the people are going through a whole lot, underscoring that he understands the reality on ground.
Okay. Now, I just analyzed to you what is happening in 2024. Just by July this year, July, fuel was about 500 naira per liter. And by September, because this is just 1st October, it is now more than 100% increased in price.
Isn't that because of the global dollar exchange rate?
Dollar, since I know it's from 20 years, has remained constant relative to pounds. It is only relative to naira that it is depreciating. They are simply celebrating. In that speech, don't allow me to go into that speech, because this is a government of rhetorics, not results.
But some Nigerians are saying that the speech had communicated hope compared to other, former administration, where they were not probably communicating to Nigerians as at the moment. Didn't you think it was inspiring?
Good. First of all, that was not an independence speech. an independence speech was meant to tell us about the virtues of our independence, the virtues of freedom, how we must continue to manage our democracy, equality, and justice, telling us about the sacrifices of those that fought for independence for us, giving us their quotes of hope. Did you see that in this speech? I was listening to May 29 handover speech. So that was not an independent speech. So that's the first test of the incompetence, the first display of incompetence of this regime. I don't know who writes for this president. Each time, each succeeding event will continue to be a harbinger of disaster. Did you see any honor that was put for the people who fought for the independence? Did you see any of their names mentioned? But you're seeing the names of the heads of government mentioned and marked out for honors. Is it honors for inflicting us with the greatest failure on earth, that a bag of rice is now more than 100,000 naira when the minimum wage is 70,000 naira? By July, the bag of rice was about less than 80,000. So every story that this government is giving us is just a harbinger of disaster. So the issue here is that this government of rhetorics, not results. And they should at least by now be ashamed of rhetorics. Let them start giving Nigerians results.
All right. We're trying to underscore some, probably giving them the benefit of that based on the fact that they will tell you that it takes some time for what the project, the initiative, and what they are putting on ground to materialize. That yes, we've taken two very strong policy, the issue of removing subsidy from fuel and also floating the naira, that on these grounds and based on these, that probably it takes some time for these things to materialize.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Don't you share in that sentiment of giving the government some more times?
Okay, it took about 24 hours or 48 hours to change the national anthem. Oh, so this government knows that there are things it can do with speed. It took about few days for anything they want to work. It took more than a year, going to 2 years, to talk about minimum wage. It took more than a year, going to 2 years, talking about the CNG buses. We are still hearing it in shadows. I will.
Was the policy right?
Which policy?
The two policies that is really affecting our economy.
Which policies?
Removing subsidy.
First and foremost, the day he removed subsidy, which was the first day of his entering into office, was ill-timed and it was ill-planned. Before you remove subsidy, there has to be a substitute. Subsidy is meant to subsidize production. The subsidy you are putting in fuel is meant to subsidize production. If you want to remove it, I want them. You must ensure that the supply is sufficient and you must ensure that there is no monopoly. Till today, what we are suffering is unaffordability and unavailability.
The reason I'm asking you is because 2023 election,
yes,
you had believed in removing subsidy, that the whole lot of corruption from the subsidy, and from the statistics we have gathered, it looks that we could not even account for how many liters, all of the production. So
good.
It means that you had accepted that subsidy must be removed.
Very good. There are two ways of removing subsidies. One, by irresponsibly declaring subsidy is gone without any alternative to it. That's one way.
To feel the palliative and all they are putting on place are not helping the situation.
Please, let's forget about that palliative. You're talking about corruption, sharing money amongst the ministers and amongst the rich. The first, even this government, as terrible as it is, suspended the humanitarian ministry. So since they have acknowledged that they have failed and they are corrupt in that field, let's even forget it. The second way of removing subsidy, which I subscribe to, let me tell you, and let me repeat it. If there is any candidate that comes out and tells you he will retain subsidy, I will not vote for that candidate. Because we are an oil-producing nation. What are you doing paying subsidy in the first place? What you should do is to produce your oil, refine your oil, and sell it to the people. Then why are you paying subsidy? We started talking about subsidy because we are importing what we have. So when I'm saying remove subsidy, I am saying repair the refineries. We have 4 refineries already built. What are they waiting for? When I'm saying remove oil subsidy, what I'm saying is don't allow monopoly to be in the industry. And I give you an example because we've done it before. In the telecom industry, we gave licenses to about 4 or 5 operators. Till today, the price has not gone haywire. You know why? Because of competition. If you do the same thing in oil, you wouldn't have any need to pay subsidy in the first place. The danger in a candidate telling you he will continue subsidy means that he will make sure that our refineries do not work. He will make sure that we will continue to import what God has given us free of charge. No candidate should come and tell me he will be paying subsidy in a product that we are producing. Because what they are paying for is incompetence and corruption. I maintain it. Remember, once subsidy starts, you know what they do? When you consume 40 million liters, they will tell you 60 million liters. Good. So why will you continue on that trajectory? Do what you're supposed to do. Repair the refineries, break the monopoly. You wouldn't have any need to pay subsidy in the first place. That's the second way of removing subsidy. That's the one I subscribe to. I am a business administrator, trained administrator. And I know that China built a hospital in 6 days when the COVID-19 was ravaging the people. 6 days, working day and night. And then for 30 years, we cannot repair our refineries.
All right, how do we balance that approach, just as you've mentioned, to also the fact that this government and this administration, the federal government will tell you that the crude probably were sold out from other administration. There was used as an exchange for, loans and all of that.
Yes.
That even crude is not even available as we speak.
And you said former administration? Were you not there when Kyari told us that this administration borrowed 3.5 billion naira and it is crude oil that they will use to pay for it? I am saying whatever you think prior administrations have done, this government has done it in quadruples. This government has borrowed close to $18 billion or thereabout within a year. Buhari did not borrow that amount in 8 years. It is there. I can enumerate it. The last one now, as you know, I think $2.something billion. And then, who's going to pay for it? And in addition to that borrowing, they are using it to buy what? Private jet. Using it to buy what? Allocate billions to the First Lady's office. A man is a president. He will be going to the United Nations with the army of thousands of people. And then the wife will be going with thousands of women.
But that has always been the practice.
And they will go there to start singing. Singing, nothing else. What did they know to do?
Has it not always been the practice? Is it the first president to do that?
Buhari, when Buhari came in, the wife said, I am husband, the president's wife. Couldn't even say I'm first lady. Did you see her going with thousands of people wherever Buhari is going to?
All right.
So it is not the practice. This government is beset with profligacy. This government is just possessed. That's the summary of it.
There have also been sometimes a failure on the past administrations. I've come to understand that we probably may not put all the blame of this nation for 64 years
Yes.
on a single administration. Would you also highlight the fact that the problems we are in today, the challenges we are in today,
Yes.
can be tracked, can be traced,
Yes.
to the mismanagement of our resources and our economy, back to what is having the ripple effect right now, currently in the country?
For everything that has happened from 1960, I am blaming this present government. Because this present government was aware
60
of the problem.
60 years with 16 months.
60
So,
years,
63 years with 16 months.
I am blaming this government 100%. Because this government was aware of all the problems. And say, vote for me, I will cure them. Was it the basis for us to vote for the government? Now, what is the direction of hope? Hope is not a strategy. Hope is wishful thinking. That's why I said what they are giving to us is renewed hopelessness. Because hope without strategy, as you know, even God himself, He said hope that is not realized makes sick. This government has made people to be sick, hoping to no end. What they are giving us is renewed hopelessness. Tell me, you came in and met price per liter 195 naira, and people are now buying it 1,000 and something, and somebody, a businessman, is telling you there is still subsidy. Is it when we die? Now let me give you an example. In America, $10 per hour is what they earn in a day. About $80, because 8 hours is the least you can work. $80. Then calculate it. It will be going to more than 130 something thousand naira a day at the cost of 1,600 naira per $1. So a person in America earns twice in a day what a worker is paid in Nigeria in a month. And they are comparing the price of fuel in Nigeria and in America. Are they not? Is that not shameful? Can they have sense of shame? People are dying. In America, they have health care, they have education, they have electricity. You know what this government has achieved? Frequent policy flip-flop, high interest rate, hyperinflation, multiple charges, astronomical energy charges,
Is that not a way?
toxic environment. That is what this government has achieved.
Don't you think it's a way to try to fix back the dead economy and the debt they are servicing? They have told us over 30 trillion have been, ventured and paid back into ways and means.
Okay, when a worker's salary cannot fill up his tank, fill it up once.
Isn't that the sacrifice we have to pay for removing,
No. What I
subsidy?
want to tell you is, what sacrifice? You want him to come to work. His salary cannot fill his tank once. No, you want to kill them. When people are paying in sweat, it is manageable. When they are paying in blood, it is death.
But fuel has always been on an increase. If you look at price of fuel, there was the time fuel was at 14 naira, there was the time fuel was at 60 naira, 100 naira, 200 and all of that to what we are. So it has always been a constant rise on that product. And if we had agreed that subsidy must be removed, it therefore means that the product definitely, will not be the same compared to what we had as a last year or thereabout.
Well, I told you I read business administration.
Isn't that the basic?
Okay, you're wrong.
That's explanations from
I
experts
understand.
and all
They
of that.
are wrong. When Nitel was in charge of telecommunication, people, they were buying not 9 Not for almost 100,000 as at that time to use a phone. When it was removed and private entities came in, they were getting line free of charge. So when you introduce efficiency to the management of your economy, price comes down. When there is competition, efficient management of resources, price comes down. In this government, price is going up. Let me tell you,
Don't you think it's going to come down?
I said, if they do the right thing, if they had saturated the system with supply, if they had broken monopoly, it would have removed the cost of, freight to take the crude to America or Europe and refine it there and bring it back. That cost will be removed. You will be selling in naira, they will be refining in naira, they will be selling back to people in naira, and then the issue of foreign currency will not arise. The thing that damages our foreign currency, which is this imported refined fuel, will not be there, and then the price will start coming down.
Don't you feel people are trying to frustrate this government? Because Aliko Dangote came out the other day and said the cabal in the oil sector is stronger than in the drugs and all of that. Okay. So it therefore means that there are some level of people who are probably trying to frustrate the attempts by the president to get these things done. Or do you feel it lacks the political will to confront them?
All right, let's take it this way. The cabal in the airline industry is so powerful that Nigerians are being frustrated. Those that are in airline industry, they are being frustrated today even to land in Heathrow. But when an airpiece came in, he reduced the price from about 15 million to 4 million business class, and to about 1 point something million economy. He did not give excuse of the mafia in the airline industry. He said he wanted to make sure he's helping his people. Then an Aliko Dangote came in, and at 1,000 naira per liter, he's still telling you there is subsidy, and he's blaming it on mafia. Sorry. Aliko Dangote is simply trying to be a businessman whose interest is to make profit, not the welfare of people. I can tell you and bet my words, if you have 3 other Dangotes dealing in refinery business, Aliko Dangote will sell cheaper than 3 of them in order to make sure that his product, goes to the top, and that the product will be demanded by Nigerians. He did it before in cement. He did it in other products. So he's just trying to be smart. He likes to make profit. I don't begrudge him that. But let him stop saying he's doing it for the welfare of Nigerians, and let him stop saying it is the mafia. No. Aliko is the greatest mafia in whatever he's doing. The richest man in Africa is a one-man mafia. So let him not shift the blame to the mafia. If he does, I'll tell him you are the head of the mafia, sir.
We're trying to track all of this because it looks that many Nigerians today ought to be, a celebration where people would have been jubilating on how we are now independent. But the mood of the nation is quite very sad and low in terms of people's reactions. I've monitored, we've seen people going on the streets at Lagos and even at Federal Capital Territory and other major cities to protest. And over and over again, the president has said, I have set up a youth conference where I'm going to create that platform for young people to come in, let's talk and discuss. He has also communicated to the fact that you understand what young people are going through and what Nigerians generally are probably going through, that he needs some more times to do all of that. And people still going out to protest. Don't you feel that is an affront to what the president is, the well thought of the president to Nigerians?
I honestly, the people around this president and this president, they keep making a public display of their incompetence. So a president came into power 2 years into his office. He did not have any agenda for the youths. And he was making promises to the youths. So after 2 years, he wants to make a confab for the youths to tell him what he wants to do. What did he then campaign on? You see, anytime a person refuses to come to debate, I was telling Nigerians, or to face the people in terms of being interviewed, they are entering one chance box. After 2 years, the president is saying, sorry, what do I do for the youths? He has spent almost 50% of his time, meaning he had no agenda whatsoever for the youths. Are you now surprised why we are coming last in sports? Why in the Olympic we are falling from Olympian height rather than flying up the Olympian height? That means he doesn't have any agenda for the youths. That's what it means. And then they will call the youths from all parts of Nigeria. Those ones they think they will go on protest, they will call them, give them something, and tell them, why do you want to go on protest again? And after that moment, they say they have done a confab.
Does it not look like they are sponsored? Because government will tell you.
My fear is that I'm praying to God. Let them not call these youths and teach them corruption. That's just what I'm praying about. Because a president who after 2 years did not have any agenda, confessed openly in a speech, and he's saying he wants a confab for them to tell him what he should do.
He has a manifesto he presented to Nigerians.
So what is
from his campaign council.
Confab?
Don't you think he wants to listen to these aggrieved Nigerians who are taking these protests to another level? Probably he didn't research that.
You had 3 months when you won election before being sworn in. Why didn't you consult? So that you will have a blueprint. When you come into power, it is for implementation. In Britain, the day they are sworn in, the ministers are appointed that same day. Work begins. And then this president, after 2 years, is beginning to begin the issue of youths.
Because it looks that people are trying to hijack all of this, taking advantage of that situation, because they've also alleged that people are sponsoring the protests, and that's why some persons, were arrested for trying to commit treason. Don't you feel that it's also a way of distorting the government?
That is why I said I did not hear any independence speech. I had a May 29 self-glorifying speech. Because if people who are dying of hunger and hardship are arrested for voicing out that they are dying of hunger and hardship, and they are being tried for treasonable felony, what about the people that wrote results in an election, brought about a government in a manner not anticipated by the Constitution? The real treasonable felons, they have been invited to go and kneel down to greet the president. But the children that are protesting, part of the ingredients of democracy, are being arrested and they are being tried for treasonable felony. You know what? The people that ought to be in prison are the people in the presidency. And the people that are people that are in the presidency are the people that ought to be in the prison.
They have not been convicted.
Those children that went to protest, have they been convicted? What are they doing in the jail? The same way those children who are not convicted are cast into prison without trial. That is the same way they should cast all those people that are casting them into prison. They should all go to prison.
Isn't that a failure of our institution? Because probably when you look at the problems we are confronting us, there's also negligence by some institutions of government. We've seen that they have put in place, Nigeria have in place institution of government that ought to, checkmate all of these and balance the operations of and excesses of some persons in government, public officers and all of that. But it looks that we are always concerning on how the president works and leaving the institutions of government aside. Don't you think that we must also pay attention to them?
The Constitution says all executive powers are vested in the president. One person. So who do you want me to blame? He said all executive powers are vested in the president.
The EFCC are not doing their work. If other agencies are not doing their work.
If they are not doing their work, what are they doing there? Who is the appointer? Who has the power to remove them? The ultimate responsibility for any administration of any ministry, department, or agency lies with the president. All executive powers are vested in the president. But let me agree with you that in addition to the failure of the president, the legislature is the actual repository of power in a democracy, not even the president. It is in a corrupt society that the president is powerful. But in a democracy that is functioning as the democracy, the repository of power is in the legislature. But we don't have democracy.
What are we practicing?
We are practicing civilian dictatorship. That is why a president...
That's not really proven.
Now,
Anyway,
let me prove it to you. The president will tell you the list of the people that he wants to be voted into power in the National Assembly, and his whole list without fail will manifest.
That's the proceedings of the party, because the number of the opposition or the ruling party takes charge.
Good. We just had an election in Edo, where it is proved even by the IREF that the number of accredited voters in so many polling units are less than the number of votes, meaning that there was rigging and blatant corruption, and it was allowed to go, even by INEC.
INEC has confirmed that, and any other ulterior motive will be proven at the court.
Now, anytime an institution tells you court, tell that institution you are corrupt. You know why? The court is not a place to make you, to do something for an institution. The court is a place to settle dispute. The court comes in when an institution did not do what it ought to do. So an institution telling you to go to court has already admitted that they did not do what they ought to do. So if you want the right thing to be done, go to court. In America, you dare not tell somebody to go to court. Because what you are going to tell people is accountability on how you obeyed the law to do what the law says. That is what transparency and accountability is. Anytime a public institution ever mentions to you, go to court, quote me, that public institution and that officer that said it is corrupt and is incompetent. Because he's telling you to go to court, he's admitting unknowingly that he did not do what he's supposed to do. And he's now telling you the only person, and he's doing it so with impunity, as in it is only court that can change what I have done wrong. That's the meaning of it. So go to court, go to hell. That's what it means. I heard it before.
Isn't that the only way we persons can seek redress? Isn't that the hope of a common man? The judiciary that we know, and of course we're taught in government, that is the hope of a common man. Probably what goes on in the court is argument by lawyers.
No. They say if a thief steals your goods and tells you to go to court, it is because he has an uncle who is a judge. That is the way to destroy the system, not to make it right.
So has corruption gone into our judiciary?
First of all, I'm a lawyer. I will be very wrong to sit here and tell you that every judge is corrupt. And the reason I'm saying it with assurance is because I'm a litigator and I've won a lot of cases. I have never seen any judge privately. So I would not be able to win even a case if every judge is corrupt. But I can tell you that when it comes to electoral matters, electoral jurisprudence, majority of the judges are not living up to expectation. They have destroyed our electoral jurisprudence.
Who is to blame? What about the National Judicial Council?
Yes. No. What I'm trying to tell you, and I agree with you, even the retired Chief Justice of Nigeria, he screamed that the judiciary is terrible. The judges are giving orders that are bringing bad name to the judiciary. And you remember one justice of the Supreme Court, I think Daltido or something, Daltijo. He said that he cannot recognize the court that he's leaving. That is not the same thing as in when he was joining the judiciary. So the electoral jurisprudence has really brought terrible name to our judiciary.
Isn't that the failure of political party? Because if you also speak with some of them, they will tell you that the politicians are the ones that are distracting the proceedings of the courts. They are putting a whole lot of pressure, issues of primaries, issues of inter-party affairs, and all of those things. That's why the court probably may be facing all of this pressure. Don't you think it's also on the part of politicians?
Do you know why you have too many cases in the court? Because of the perception that the judiciary is corrupt. In America, from my adult age, it was only 2 times that the presidential election went to court. One, during Al Gore's time, 1 case. Then in Trump's own time, 60 cases by Trump, and he lost all of them. Tell me who will go to court tomorrow. But look at in Nigeria, you have people who did not contest election being pronounced by the court that they are the winners. So everybody believes that they can go to court and the impossible will become possible. That's why you have too many cases in our court. So remove corruption, deliver judgment based on justice. You will see all these cases will be wiped out, and not up to 10% will be in court. If the judges do not want too many cases on their table, let them start from today delivering judgment based on justice. And you will see Nigeria will not be a litigious nation again. Nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants to lose, to pay his money knowing he will lose. In America, before you go to court, you already know whether you will win or lose, because the law is there and the judges will rule according to law. So the truth is that it is not the fault of politicians. Not one bit. It is not the fault of political parties. It is the fault of the 3 arms of government. I'll give you an example. I was a footballer when I was young. When you're playing football, when you are on the touch line, you will know that it is your leg that pushed the ball in. The referee is at the back of maybe the other player. And instantly, you raise your hand as if it is the other person that kicked it off. Whose duty it is to decide who is at fault? Is it the player or the referee? I've seen ball scored with hand of God in a World Cup, and the referee says it's a goal. So INEC is 100% responsible for whatever default, whatever corruption that is going on in our election. Why? They are the institution that is the referee to what is happening, and they are the ones that receive budget to make sure they carry out their responsibilities. Any politician, like any player, will want to win election. It is the duty of INEC to be the regulator that will make them to know that if you don't play according to the rules, you will be penalized according to the rules, and there will be no rigging anymore. And I give you an example. Professor Mahmoud organized the election in Edo, and I'm talking about the former one, Edo, Anambra, and Ondo. That was when they introduced IREV on their own, their invention. The election was so clear. For the first time, nobody went to court challenging the result of INEC. They were rather challenging whether the opponents were qualified. In the 3 states, that was what deceived us. We went to 2023 believing that our system will have matured, until they went and did their abracadabra of technical glitch and sent us back to Stone Age. We are back now to manual collation of results.
If politicians, because the INEC will also tell you that sometimes because they fail election, that's why they will tell you INEC is corrupt. But if they win election,
yes,
they will tell you INEC is right. Yes. We've seen cases like, for instance, you just mentioned Edo State. They will tell you in 2020, the PDP had won in the state, but now that they have lost in this election, yes, they are pushing the blame to INEC. Why didn't they say INEC was corrupt as at that time? We have back and forth with coming from politicians, which is very, very familiar with their character.
First of all, you're not entirely correct. President Umaru Yar'Adua won election as the president, and he said my election was flawed. We still have some men of integrity. It's not every politician that will take that. That is why I still believe that Nigeria will have a solution. In any case, what do you want to do? If somebody wins an election, you want him to go and kill the person that declared him a winner? No. When Argentina won that World Cup, they will go to the church and thank God that the referee, whatever means, that he did it. It's not the duty, as I'm saying, it's not the duty of the politician. It is the duty of INEC. If you say that I won, to God be the glory. But it is not my duty. I will say, thank God, thank you, and go my way. It's not my duty. So you cannot hold somebody responsible for a duty the law has not compelled him to do. He doesn't have duty of care. If we start addressing our problems the way it is, then we are not going to have a problem. In a democracy, hold the legislature responsible for any problem that is going on. You know why? The legislature are the ones who appropriate the money that the executive will spend. They are the ones who will punish the executive if the executive does not do it. They are the ones who have the right to oversight the executive. But like Montesquieu said, the state will perish when the legislative arm becomes more corrupt than the executive. That is what is threatening the foundation of our democracy. The legislature now is becoming more corrupt than the executive. So what the executive just need to do is to give elected by the people, because if your party also have a candidate, yes, your party also have members in the National Assembly. Yes. It therefore means that if we are saying that the legislature are also involved in all of this, yes, your party members, your party senators and House of Reps are also involved. Underscoring the fact that people elected them, yes, to that office. Are they not living to the expectations? I can tell you that I agree with you. They cannot exonerate themselves from the perfidy that is going on in the National Assembly. Whether you are a member of my party or not, you are responsible for what is going on in Nigeria. That is why the people elected you. If you want to know, I am not impressed with their performance, because they brought the SUV they carried. I didn't see them carry placard in the National Assembly. They appointed some APC card-carrying member into INEC. CSO people were shouting. I didn't see any of them shout. And they don't even know that when they now conduct the election, and rig them out, they will start shouting to Nigerian people.
Isn't that the same issue that I said, that if a politician fails the election,
Yes.
they will tell you INEC is corrupt. But when they had won the election,
Yes.
INEC was right. Isn't that a pressure on INEC?
And that's what I told you. Why would INEC conduct an election in such a manner that when somebody fails, you will say they rigged the election? And with evidence. That's why I said it is the duty of INEC.
So for 64 years,
Yes.
we can't say that we can conduct election in this country and it can be completely free.
In 2024, any election conducted under Professor Mahmood, it is a 419, as you were just duped. Just, it's as simple as that. Because the law is clear. Mahmood said he will have TV by his own mouth on top of him. And when he is reading the manually collated result, you will be seeing that it has been transmitted electronically.
That is on guideline. That's the mistake. I mean, we also
No,
have to consider about that. The term is on a guideline that is not on the
part of the laws.
That is not on the 2022 Electoral Act.
No, it is there by incorporation because the Electoral Act gave INEC the power to make rules and regulation guiding election. So it is there.
So do you feel that
And by administrative law, rules and regulation made by an institution is part of our law. So you just cannot rule it out. It is only when the rule is contrary to what the Electoral Act said, then it is void to the extent of the inconsistency with the Electoral Act. The relationship between the Electoral Act and the Constitution is the relationship between the rules and the Electoral Act. They are the layers of law.
All right, we'll go on a break and once returned from that very quick break, we'll be looking at the unity of the country for 64 years. We've also seen call for regional government and all of that by the members of the National Assembly. We're looking at that aspect. And also the cabinet members. Nigerians were waiting and seeing if the president will reshuffle the cabinet he had set up on probably August last year. And it's over a year now plus. Nigerians are saying that some of the ministers are not working, that there is a need to reshuffle. There has also been a confirmation by the spokesman of the president. But how far can we really trust the people that are working with the president to bring dividends of democracy to the people? We're looking at that very shortly after this break. Please stay with us. Many thanks, everyone. If you are just joining us, Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo, a lawyer and a politician columnist, is on the program tonight to look at all these issues. Let's take a mind to the fact that we cannot talk about independence. We cannot talk about Nigeria standing alone without considering the unity of this country. There is also a need. We've also seen how we can say people are clamoring for amendment on our constitution. People are saying, can we go back to regional operation? Can we begin to see how the North can develop their region and all of that? And those will tell you, no, that's not what we need. From your own assessment of the state of the country as it is now, because some of the problems we are finding out is that federal government will have allocation to the state, but how well are these well utilized?
Now, first of all, let me admit, and that's one thing about democracy, is a process. So, towards building a more perfect union, we will always need to amend our laws from time to time because circumstances change. Having said that, our problem in this country is not laws. When people waste time and continue saying, conference, are they not even tired of conferences? Conference from 1960, conference. How many conferences have the Americans had? They are the most powerful nation on earth. How many conferences do we have in UK? In Nigeria, we've had up to 100, as in hyperbolically. And we're still having problem. Our problem is attitudinal. Write the best constitution on earth, and you're a corrupt nation. You will corruptly destroy that constitution. Let us change our attitude first and foremost What brought us to 36 states? Corruption. Because people saw that the more states you have, the more money is allocated to you. In the First Republic, the South had 3 regions. The North had 1. North was not complaining. Why? Because the more states you have, the less money you have. Because you'll be spending more money on cost of governance. Because it is that derivation is the basis for the sharing of the revenue. How come the North was not, they didn't care that the South had 3 regions? But today, they have more states. Immediately, we changed our focus from production to consumption. It became very, very attractive to have more local governments, to have more states. Because whether you're viable or not, you will be given money from the center. Let us go back to that law that will make you to survive by what you produce. States will be begging that they want to merge because you are not viable. So that's what I'm saying. Our culture, as corruption is entering deep and money is shared based on consumption, not production, the whole atmosphere started changing to suit our corrupt minds and corrupt attitude. Remove corruption and tell people you will receive money according to your productivity, not according to your power to consume. Things will change.
Are we having more cost of governance from this government? Because those I will tell you, democracy is quite expensive to run. You have to service the executive, you have to service the judiciary, you have to service the legislature. And in all fairness to probably them, they need all of those things to be able to drive this development. But over and over again, we are still having this conversation about the cost of governance. How fair can we give them?
Because we are chasing shadows. If this legislature are living by their salary, how can it be costly? It's not possible it to be costly. So when we're shouting cost of governance, cost of democracy, no. It's cost of corruption that is destroying us. Meaning any system of government you have will still come back to us very expensive. Because what is making it expensive is not what they are earning. It is what they are corruptly enriching themselves with. So it's not, our problem is not cost of maintaining them. It's cost of their corruption.
Are people meant to checkmate and not doing their work well?
That is it. I agree with you on that. That is corruption. Why would you check a man? I'll give you an example. A man is making a budget of 1 trillion naira and 300 billion is coming back to him. And then you will say, I will keep quiet to that 300 billion. I will take my own 100 billion. Don't look at it. How can you check each other? So in America, you will see people checking people extensively. And then people are careful. In Nigeria, it is not there. And it is the legislature that is built in a democracy to check the executive. It is not happening. And that's why our state is trying to perish.
All right, Mr. Kenneth, very lastly before we wrap up, there have been a current outcry, just as I said earlier, about Nigerians looking at more, especially this government. And that those I will tell you, the presidency cannot do this work alone. That is why he had to hire people, in the different ministries to be able to do the work. We've had experts, we've had technocrats in that cabinet who can track record of some of the personalities that are in that cabinet, but nothing seems, from some person's perspective, materializing, even when some persons have actually done some bit effort enough to get these governance working. Do you feel that the call for reshuffling of the cabinet is needed?
Very well. There are about 4 or 5 ministers that I can remember offhand that are doing something that is impacting Nigerians out of 48. The first anniversary of this government is the time he would have sacked at least 30 ministers. At least, it could be more. Then make sure he limits himself to about 37 ministers so that the cost of governance can be reduced. because a lot of them know that they were put there for political reasons, you know, to satisfy the Miloko philosophy. That's why they think they can do whatever they want, and then there will be no consequences. I did not have light in my house. 2 days to independence. I wanted to scream, this is independence of darkness. They told me it's transformer. Who is in charge of transformer? And they're telling us the tariff is increasing. So it is unaffordable, it is unavailable, electricity. And there is a minister there that will tell you, the solution is for you to off your freezer. That's his own solution to lack of light. And you begin to wonder, where did these people come from? You have seen how the fuel is increasing to 1,000 and something, and they are saying they are still paying subsidy. You'll be wondering, where is these people from? And somebody is answering minister, collecting salary. The security system, as you can see, the royal fathers are being killed, and their dead body is being ransomed, and the villagers are going on their own to fight for the corpse of their own royal father to come back. Tell me the area that is excelling. I can consider about 4 or 5 ministers. And the only reason I will consider they are working is because in the land of the blind, one-eyed man becomes the king. When you have avalanche of incompetent people, whenever anybody is now doing something, you say, okay, good, this one is working. Otherwise, I would have said all of them, you know.
So there's a need to actually look at that.
There is a need to sack, like I said, at least 30. At least. It could be more. Then some of them should not come back and use that opportunity to make the whole cabinet to come under 37 ministers.
From over 40.
What are you doing with, okay, you can see 48 ministers. It's over going to 49. Livestock ministry. The president has come down to be chairman of it. Minister of petroleum. And yet, you can't even, one area you cannot handle as president. And you're taking 3 heads. Oh, please.
A very big thanks to Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo, lawyer, political economist. Thanks so much for all you do. And of course, the projection is for the country to work. I know that you are a patriotic Nigerian and you want this country to work. And it is the only country that we have.
That's the only reason that we are all praying and we are all advising. It's not about criticizing the government. It's about profiling solution. I make bold to say that whatever I have criticized, I have profiled solution. So let us work together. Nigerians must rise to defend the democracy so that we can go on. We don't have any alternative to democracy.
That's a very inspiring and patriotic words from there. Thanks so much, Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo, for joining us tonight. The struggle for our independence, just 1960 and now 64 years, is what many are probably describing based on how they feel. But in all excess, it's time for government to pay attention to getting things done so that we can completely, from all Nigerians' mindset, I'll be entirely free and independent. That's the size of our show tonight on Big Talk. My name is Edikan. Thanks so much for joining us. See you again tomorrow at the same time on the program. Bye-bye for now.